Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Labor Day weekend. Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com along with good old JM Jeff Meacham. This is the 20-year anniversary since the start of the Monday Night Wars. Hard to believe.
Where did that 20 years go? It's hard to believe we were all sitting in front of at the time, our parents' TVs, watching what would become the greatest real story in terms of wrestling history.
Yeah, it wasn't just a storyline, it was real life.
Yeah,
Two companies going head to head, and arguably the best period in the history of the wrestling business.
No doubt about that.
When you had WWE versus WCW, and I don't think that younger fans out there quite understand just how significant this period was. It made Monday nights must-see television.
You were sitting there in front of your TV with your remote, okay, Nitro Raw, Nitro Raw, Nitro Raw, because you didn't know what was going to happen. Luckily for us on the West Coast, we had the replay to watch after. But for people on the East Coast, it was a nightmare.
Exactly.
Because you had Raw and Nitro at the exact same time, you know what to watch week to week for a while.
If you missed something, you missed something important.
Yep.
On both shows.
VCRs were set, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, people did not miss Monday nights. And I remember when I was in high school, I literally would not miss Monday Night Wrestling.
No, definitely
under any circumstances.
No, absolutely not.
So let's talk about some of the most significant WWE versus WCW moments in the history of the wars. Of course, the very first Nitro, 20 years ago, September 4th, 1995, the first shot was fired when Lex Luger made his shocking debut, or return, I should say, to WCW.
Yes, that was something where WWE was not on that night. They were preempted due to, I believe, the dog show on USA.
Not the dog show. It was the... was it the dog show?
I thought it was the dog show.
I think the dog show's in February.
Oh, I don't know.
It's the U.S. Open or something.
U.S. Open, that's all. U.S. Open, yeah. And WCW knew they had unopposed nights, so they counteracted with a huge... Because Luger had worked for WWE the night before in some town, some house show, and for him to literally show up in the Mall of America there on the live Nitro was like, what? He just worked for Vince. What the hell was that? It was amazing.
He was at SummerSlam a few weeks earlier.
Yeah, interfering in the main event. That's right. And for him to show up on Nitro as a member of the WCW roster was just completely unexpected. And it really set the tone for the entire war. It really set the tone for, okay, well, they got one of our guys. What do we do now?
Yeah, exactly.
For Vince and for Bischoff, it was just a shot in the arm. It was like, yeah, we got him.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting to see that.
Yeah, and it really enforced the idea that WCW was where the big boys play.
Yes.
And WWF was behind the times, and they were the past, and the future was all about WCW.
Absolutely.
And that's how it was portrayed. And Eric Bischoff continued to keep doing these segments on Nitro where he would literally give away the results of Raw, which was a taped show. People need to remember that back during this period, WWF would only go live once a month. They would tape 4 episodes of Raw.
Right.
The first show would be live, and then the next 3 shows would be taped. So Bischoff would just give away the whole month's worth of WWE wrestling results. And
every Monday at the top of the hour, he'd be like, okay, here's how it's going to go down for the WWF show. He wouldn't see WWF, obviously, but he'd see like World Whining Federation or something like that, and he would run down the entire card. Here's how it's going to play out. Now you turn to where the big boys play, where the action is live, and it was like, you sit there watching, you just go, damn. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, Nitro was live every week because they had Ted Turner's money. They could afford to go live every week, and Bischoff used that to his advantage.
He did,
and he also used his checkbook to bring in more people from WWE. One of those people was Medusa, who he had show up on Nitro and literally throw the WWF Women's Championship in the trash.
Medusa just got inducted to the Hall of Fame last year. That's how big this was.
Yeah,
Medusa earlier this year. Excuse me. This was a huge thing that had long-lasting implications. Not only did it cost Medusa her any sort of job at WWE ever again, but because of that belt showing up on live TV, Vince was hesitant to let his WWF champion Bret Hart go without dropping the title.
Exactly.
Hence the screw job.
Yeah, and this definitely, there's no doubt this affected Vince and the people in WWE because they went out of the way to script that segment at the Hall of Fame where Medusa came out and pulled the women's title from out of the trash.
Yeah, exactly.
So she had to correct that mistake that she made by
Yeah.
doing that. So you knew that struck a nerve.
Oh, it did. 20 years later, people were still going, whoa.
And that's still one of the most memorable moments in the
is.
history of the Monday Night Wars.
Whenever you go to a live WWE event, it's always on the opening video that they have. They show the highlights of the history of WWE. It's always right there. In those WCW broadcasts, they always show that because it was that important.
Yeah. And as we got into 1996, WWF finally started to counter WCW with the Billionaire Ted skits.
If you want to call out a counter.
I mean, they were funny at first. The first week or two they did it.
Yeah.
The skits were funny, you know, the Nacho Man and the Huckster, and even Vince Russo in the room saying, you know, WWF has better athleticism, and WCW is just the old guys that can't go anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Russo was behind all that.
Oh, yeah, of course he was.
He was even in the
he was in the skit. Yeah, I remember.
Yep. So yeah, it was funny the first few times, and then it just got old.
The whole match at WrestleMania, the free for all was absurd. Where all three of them expired.
Yeah, I mean the joke ran its course. I mean, yeah, they're old, we get it, but they just kept running it into the ground, and it got old after a while. But it was clear that WWF was acknowledging WCW's existence and was trying to...
They never had before.
Trying to difference themselves from WCW, saying, hey, look, we're all about the young talent. They're just using the guys that are way past their prime. So that was where it was... They were trying to, you know...
Differentiate themselves, yeah.
Yeah, make the brands different.
Yep.
Then you had more people jump into WCW. That Ted Turner checkbook just kept being put to use. Yep. You had Scott Hall showing up on the I believe it was Memorial Day edition of
May 27, 1996. He walked down the aisle in Macon, Georgia, in the aisleway there at the Coliseum, hopped the barrier, and cut that promo. The rest is history.
Yeah,
you know, he cut that scathing promo about, you know, in that Cuban accent, was just like, ooh, Scott, no. They talked about they wanted to go to the war. You got a war, and he showed up. And then 2 weeks later, Kevin Nash showed up.
And WCW was trying to present it like it was the WWF invading WCW.
It was without. They didn't even say WWF or Diesel or Razor Ramon or even his real name.
He's like,
Scott Hall,
you know who I am.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. It's like, no, we don't. What are you doing here? Why are you on Nitro? And then WWF sued, of course, for trade. So they had Bischoff ask them at the Great American Bash, do you work for WWF? And they both said, no, of course not. So that's when that whole thing started.
So they made the NWO because of that, which created even more success.
It did. WCW. It really did. Oh, sure, we're in the Bishops. I forgot we were doing a war show today. Yeah, that whole initial 6 to 8 weeks of the Outsiders was just awesome.
Yeah, and Hall even referenced the Nacho Man in Scheme Gene.
Yeah, the Nacho Man.
That punk can't even get
in the building. It was like, wow.
That promo, that was one of the best promos in wrestling history.
It really was.
Like, I remember it word for word.
Yep, I do too for the most part. I had to sit there and think about it. But yeah, there was that one. There was Kevin's promo he cut, the announce booth a couple weeks later. This is where the big boys play, huh?
Look at the adjective. Play.
We ain't here to play.
That was hilarious.
That was good.
And I love WWE actually posted that clip on YouTube, and all these fans are like calling out Nash on it, even though this is something we've been making fun of him for years about.
That's so funny.
But people just now watching that video for the first time saying he totally screwed up. That was great. And then of course Hogan coming out being the third man.
Yeah.
Whose side is he on? Said Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, and what's funny is if you watch later DVDs, they edit that part of the commentary out.
Which is stupid because Bobby Heenan's character never trusted Hulk Hogan.
He did. He never liked Hogan.
So of course he's going to think Hogan's up to no good.
And it was so funny. If you watch Hog Wild the next month, when it was Hogan and Giant for the championship and Hogan's coming down, Heenan is 3 sheets to the wind. He is drunk off his ass doing commentary. Because it's at the Biker Ross. Everybody's getting hammered. Let me tell you something about Hogan. I said never trust it. I was like, God damn it, Bobby, put the booze down. Seriously.
Yeah, but
it was so funny.
Anyways, Hogan came out, cut his big promo.
Yep.
He talked about how he made people rich up in New York, and kept referencing the WWF, and that he's the only reason that they had ever achieved any success. And Bischoff would continue to bring that up on television.
It's hard to disagree with it, you know.
Bischoff, Bischoff turned heel, joined the NWO, and they would take shots at WWF every time they could. Bischoff would grab fan signs that say Vince Fears ratings and that sort of thing. They would just mock the WWF.
Vince Fears Turner. It was just like, really?
And then when WWF had the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, people were wearing NWO shirts, and you would have Bischoff reference that, saying, please stop wearing our shirts to the competition, all sarcastic and stuff. So it was, Bischoff continued to make fun of the WWF, and the WWF was losing the ratings at this point. They were struggling to keep up with WCW.
Yeah, I remember it going 97, as far as one of the kind of me cock your head moments. WrestleMania 13, Michaels comes out for his commentary stint in the main event. He kind of Jarrett kind of goes like this at the camera.
Yeah, it gives the clip.
And then Nash comes on the next side, right back at you, HBK. It was like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on? They're talking to each other on TV. What the hell?
Yeah, little references like that.
It was great. Cool. It was all with the click.
And finally, towards the end of 97, the WWF was able to gain somebody from WCW, and that person was Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett came out and cut his worked shoot
What was
promo.
funny, Jarrett was in WWE. They went to WCW for a while and sucked. He came back to WWF and cut that work shoot promo, which went over very well. But within weeks, he was being NWA's little poster boy, whatever it was.
Yeah. And
then within a few weeks of that, he was Double J again.
Yeah, it really didn't go anywhere. I liked the promo, although
the promo was good.
I think a lot of people were confused by it. A lot of casual fans like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Yeah. This was a Vince Russo special, of course.
Yes,
but for us longtime fans, I mean, this was a tremendous promo. Although he did say, you can take With My Baby Tonight and stick it up your butt. So he said butt instead of ass when this is supposed to be a serious promo. Yeah. And WCW countered that. You mentioned earlier the Montreal Screwjob. Vince, his excuse was he was afraid that Brett would take the WCW title to Nitro, which Brett said he would never do. But Bischoff could come out and say, "We have the WWE champion coming to our company." Right. So the Screwjob happened, and the fallout from the Screwjob. I mean, so many things happened that were referenced from the Screwjob.
Yeah. Davey jumped ship,
and
Ravishing Rick Rude jumped ship.
And that's what I want to mention.
That's the one he's going to mention.
Rick Rude coming out the first time in history, and the only time during the actual war until the last Nitro, when you had somebody on Raw and Nitro on the same night.
Which was funny because they mentioned this in one of the books I read. He was not only on both those shows, he was on ECW TV that week too.
Yeah.
So Rude was the only guy in the history of the war to appear on all three broadcasts within a span of 6 days.
Yeah, and
it was crazy.
He had the beard when he was in DX. That was a taped show. So for the live Nitro, he shaved off the beard
just to make sure people knew it was different.
Yeah, it was great. And then he's like all talking about the Bret Hart
the rights and the wrongs in professional wrestling.
What's wrong with professional wrestling is Vince McMahon instructing a referee to ring the bell in order to rob Bret Hart of his title. That was such an awesome promo. Yep. I loved it.
Rude was highly underrated as far as promos and in-ring work. I have a friend who does not like Rick Rude, did not understand the appeal, and I go, even just watch his WCW stuff and then his later WWF talking stuff and WCW talking stuff. That alone was great. Then you go back and watch his wrestling, he was great.
Yeah, so
Rude was awesome.
Rude really made the most of it.
He really did.
And like you said, Davey Boy Smith went to WCW, Jim Neidhart went to WCW, but at this time WWF was starting to develop the Attitude Era. They were changing the product. They were trying to be edgy to compete with WCW. They had DX, and they beat the crap out of Jim Neidhart his last match, and they literally took a WCW sign. And no, they did that to the Bret Hart. They brought out the Bret Hart midget.
Yeah,
remember that?
Little midget, the Mexican midget dressed as Bret Hart. And they stuck this WCW bumper sticker on his ass and kicked him out of the WWF. It was like, ooh,
yeah.
Man.
So that was
heavy duty.
That was them trying to be edgy. And then they had DX beat up Jim Neidhart and spray paint NWO style WCW on Jim Neidhart.
Yep, I remember.
So they were doing it. They were starting to take the shots at WCW again.
Yep.
And WWF started building momentum. They
really did. And what really was the catalyst was Austin.
Yeah.
Austin started catching fire as a character. He really went into the feud with Bret Hart as the underdog, and all of a sudden he was the top babyface of the company before too long.
Yeah, and you had turmoil. You started having turmoil in WCW too, which was going to lead to their eventual downfall.
Right.
Backstage politics, power plays. Eric Bischoff would end up firing Six-Pac, Sean Waltman WCW, and that did not make Hall and Nash happy. It was basically a power play.
Well, yeah, because Hall and Nash were causing so much trouble, and their asses were tied up in contracts so deep that Bischoff couldn't get rid of them, but he could get rid of somebody who had been injured for a while, so he FedExed them a termination. Next thing we know, he's on Raw.
Yeah, so, Waltman is pissed off. He shows up on Monday night and cuts an amazing promo, blasting WCW, saying, Hulk Hogan, you said I couldn't cut the mustard. Well, you suck, pal.
You suck, pal.
And,
I love Sean.
He talked about Bischoff's ass. Hogan's ass.
Hogan meets her Bischoff's ass. He can have what he smell for breakfast or something like that.
Something like
that.
Oh
man!
Yeah, and they said that Hall and Nash would be right here with us if they weren't being held hostage
by World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, another tremendous. I love the promos
Eric
during
Bischoff.
this time, and it's because there was a sense of reality with those promos. These guys were really venting on live television.
Well, what's funny is Sean Waltman shows up and joins DX, becomes X-Pac, and then the Outlaws during that night. Within 2 weeks, they're down in Norfolk, Virginia, sending that tank to Nitro.
Yeah,
it was like, whoa, they're let them in.
Yeah, the DX invasion. They're showing up to the arena where WCW's at. They manipulated the sign to say free tickets available.
Yeah, it was just bad.
Yeah, and WCW was not happy about that. There was more legal action.
More lawsuits. Yep.
And then they tried to show up to the headquarters in Atlanta, and
the cops called on them.
Yeah, this really pissed off Bischoff to the point where he actually came out on television and ripped into Vince McMahon, saying Vince McMahon is the guy behind all this. He's making DX do his bidding, and he challenged Vince to a match.
And Worcester, Mass. Yep, at Slamboree, and he had Michael Buffer Michael Buffer announce Vince McMahon to come down to the ring, and then had the referee count Vince out in case he showed up, which we knew he wasn't going to. But Bischoff even said in his book, Hogan was like, "Brother, what if he does? Like, bring him on."
But yeah, I mean,
Bischoff had no fear, zero.
Yeah, but you could tell he was frustrated with this thing that DX was doing. You could really feel the tide starting to turn at this point.
Yep.
Just like Vince was getting upset about the Medusa thing, you knew this really got to Bischoff.
Yep.
And he was frustrated, and they started getting desperate. WCW trying to get back at WWE, but WWE was just so hot with Austin and DX and The Rock.
Yeah, the same night they had the DX invasion was the night the WWE finally won the war for the first time in almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they had the Austin McMahon Dude Love segment.
Right.
And that really turned the tide. And WCW only won a handful of times that. They won the night that Goldberg beat Hogan for the championship. They won the war that night.
Yeah.
But after October 25th, and they rebroadcast that
Halloween Havoc
debacle that they had, that was the last time they won the war. WWE just took a minute and just took off like a bat out of hell and never looked back.
Yeah.
And WCW, Bischoff even said on the confidential DVD that he knew they were in trouble in August '98 when they were still cooking.
Right.
Because the censors and there was just so much coming down WCW from the outside. There was no getting back out of it.
Yeah.
So it was just they're being bogged down in internal politics and corporate Turner politics and just a bunch of shit going on that there was no way to recover ever.
Right. And they were trying to regain the momentum, and they were starting to get desperate. They had an angle where Ric Flair, they teased that he had a heart attack to try to boost ratings.
Horrible.
And this all led up to the beginning of 1999.
Oh, yes.
January 4th, I believe, was the date, 1999.
Yes, sir.
You had on one show the Goldberg versus Kevin Nash rematch,
which was plugged.
Yeah, this is what they were advertising.
And the other show, you had a taped Monday Night Raw, which was Mankind winning the championship from The Rock, which we all knew was going to happen. We still wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And of course, Bischoff, in his infinite wisdom, sends Shivani to the microphone and tells Shivani to tell people it's going to happen. And Shivani, with this little comment, goes, I'll put a lot of butts in the seats.
Yeah. Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here as Cactus Jack, is going to win their world title.
Yeah, and Nielsen showed like 750,000 households immediately turned the channel from Nitro to Raw.
Yeah, I mean, Bischoff tried to go use his old tricks again.
Yeah, and shot him right in the foot.
Totally backfired this time.
Yep.
And
then the main event they do present is Hogan versus Nash, the infamous finger poke of doom.
Which many people say was the big moment that led to WCW's downfall.
I think that whole week was really the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Because the booking was terrible by then. Nash was still in charge of booking, so they say. It depends who you talk to now. But that whole thing was just one big debacle after another, and from that point on, booking just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and just never, like I said, they never recovered from losing the war.
Yeah.
They never recovered from losing. It's funny, you mentioned that Hogan Nash was the beginning of the end. I really believe Halloween Havoc was the beginning of the end, because they had a great main event to present, and they never did because of the TV timeout. And some people didn't get to see it till live. They won the night on Nitro because they showed it for free. Then it shot them in the foot because, oh crap, well, if they're going to show us, why do we have to wear pay-per-views again? Yeah,
and of course you had Hogan and Warrior, and it was pretty clear to people that the only reason Warrior was there was to put over Hogan so Hogan can get his win back from WrestleMania.
Sounds like a streak match or something.
Yeah, like 2 weeks later he just disappeared.
He did, well, because he got hurt.
But
and they didn't want to use him anymore.
I think it's pretty obvious why he was brought in.
Yep.
So yeah, it was clear by that point that WCW was running out of ideas. Trying to bring in the Warrior to boost the ratings. It worked for like 2 weeks, and then WWE started winning again.
Yep.
WWE was the place to be, and they had Mick Foley come out and basically say, I'm thinking about going to WCW, but I'm not quite old enough yet. That was a great line.
I remember that.
He got them good for that Schiavone comment.
He sure did.
And they continued to make fun of WCW for being out of touch. Yeah. And they had Goldberg come out with the sparklers and the piped in chants. Yeah. And WCW, they were making it so obvious that those chants were piped. I mean, everyone loved Goldberg, but the chants, it was so obvious. The editing.
If people stopped chanting as a result, so all you see is.
Yeah, it made WCW look really lame.
Yeah,
with that Goldberg parody.
It was bad. Yeah.
It made Goldberg look like a joke. So I mean, WWE definitely succeeded with that parody.
Yep.
And WCW kept struggling throughout the year, and then something happened in the fall, the end of September of '99. You had Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, the writers for WWF, suddenly leave and jump ship to WCW.
Well, this is after Bischoff had been relieved of his duties as president. He was kind of reassigned, they said, and they signed Russo and Ferrara in October '99, and they were going to save the company and turn them around, and within 2 months they were gone too.
Yeah, well,
3 months, whatever it was.
First thing they did was bring in Jeff Jarrett from WWE. So, Jarrett had
the chosen one.
He had wrestled on the No Mercy pay-per-view against China. There was this big controversy because he wanted a payout
for showing up.
Because
he didn't have to. He was under contract anymore. He didn't have to show up.
So he held up WWF for money. They paid him. He did the job. And he showed up the next night on Nitro, and it seemed like maybe WCW was going to start building some momentum, but unfortunately, Russo's Crash TV format did not work in WCW for various reasons. One of the reasons being that you had the higher ups that did not want the edgy contact.
Standards and practices would not let Russo be Russo. And that's the long and short of it, but that's exactly what happened. And Turner censors were like, I can't do that shit.
Yeah, so
there's no way.
So you had tons of editing, and the production values of WCW got so bad at this point because they were trying to edit things, and they were trying to do so many segments crammed into a 2-hour show. The Crash TV format, and the production team just. WWE has a far superior production team, let's face it. And WCW, just the editing of the shows was really bad. And the WCW fans watched WCW because it was different from WWE. If they wanted to watch the Crash TV, they would be watching WWE.
Yep, exactly.
They wanted to watch WCW for more traditional wrestling, and Russo was trying to do his version of WWE and WCW.
And it wasn't working at all. It never did.
So
it never caught fire, ever.
Yeah, it quickly fizzled out, and you had Oklahoma, which was a parody of Jim Ross.
Well, it was funny. Even after that, you talk about people jumping ship from WWE to WCW. How about the beginning of 2000, after the Russo experiment initially failed?
Yeah. And
they brought in Kevin Sullivan and them to book Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko, and Saturn. those 4 guys, and a couple of us tried to walk away. They wouldn't let, like Shane Douglas wouldn't let him go. Raven, I think, just left altogether.
Yeah, he was so frustrated.
He was like, Raven's like, bye, I'm done with this shit. I'm out of here. And he went to ECW. That's how bad it was. I'm going back to ECW where I can be appreciated. Like, what? But yeah, those 4 guys walked out of Sold Out, and 2 weeks later walked into Raw.
Yeah, Benoit was the world champion also.
Benoit was the WWE champion. He's like, here you go.
It just completely devalued the world title. In
Again,
WCW.
more than I had in the previous year as it was. And then you had the infamous battle between Sid, Nash, and I think the Harris brothers over the championship at one point.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah, so you had the Radicals come in. You had Chris Jericho come in.
Oh, yeah, Chris Jericho the year before. My God, Chris Jericho made a huge impact right away.
And The Rock was like, you were down south wrestling some jabroni named Juventud. That was funny.
His name, Juventud?
Yeah, and when the Radicals...
And then Juventud takes the Rock's gimmick, the juice.
Yeah. And that was so lame.
That was so bad.
That was really bad. WCW trying to mock the WWF with Hoovy doing the juice. That did not work.
And then Booker mocking The Rock.
Yeah, Oklahoma coming in and making
fun
of Jim
horrible.
Ross.
Even Ed Ferraro was
making fun of the Bell's palsy.
That was horrible.
I mean, that was just so bad. Making fun of the entire Lucha division in WCW.
Pinata!
And just completely burying those guys. It was so bad. And you had Kevin Nash coming out dressed up as Vince McMahon, the promoter. Except he looked more like Herman Munster than Vince McMahon.
He looks so tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he's making all these inside references that I don't think
nobody understood
the casual fans got. And, then you had the Radicals come out, of course, and Jim Ross mentioning how they thumbed their noses at their previous employers. Yep. And, every time WWF made fun of WCW, it was cool. But
WCW tried to make fun of them in response, it was like, whatever.
Yeah, you had Big Show coming out dressed as Hulk Hogan at the Backlash 2000 pay-per-view.
That was actually pretty funny.
As the showster, and Jim Ross saying, this is the biggest crowd that Hogan's performed in front of in years.
Oh.
That's just a great shot at WCW. So, yeah, I mean, it was clear that the war was all but officially over, and it was officially over in March of 2001. Yeah. WWF ended up buying WCW, and you had the final Nitro on March 26th, 2001.
March 23rd was the purchase date. March 26th was Nitro.
And Vince, he publicly fired Jeff Jarrett.
That was so great. I love that.
And Lex Luger as well, saying the Lex Express had run out of gas.
That's right.
And Jarrett was capital G, double O, double N, double E, gone. And then, of course, you had the big simulcast segment with Shane coming out and announcing that he was buying WCW.
So the war wasn't over just yet, but it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was. And it was just... It was a time... I mean, by the time the show ended, Nitro ended, we were getting ready to graduate from high school.
Yeah.
So for us to be growing up, from... Essentially from grade school to the end of high school with this war, it was a great time to be a kid, great time to watch this products. Some of the stuff wasn't for kids, let's be honest. But, by the time we were that age, it was like, yeah, it's edgy, it's cool, I like it, I can dig it. So, it was a fun time to be a fan.
Yeah,
it was great. It was, like we always say, tremendous.
Yeah, you really don't know unless you lived through the era.
Yeah, exactly. People talk about, the PG era is so bad. It's like, these are like 10-year-old kids. Dude, you weren't even around 10 years ago. You have no idea how bad it really is right now. It's getting better now. It's getting better with different companies doing different things, but nothing will ever top the WWF versus WCW war.
Well, it was all about the competition. The competition
motivated
forced both companies to be at the top of their games. They had to produce compelling television if they wanted to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is what the wrestling business needs, is competition. And I'm hopeful one day a new company will rise up and be able to challenge WWE.
Well, TNA was supposed to be the heir apparent. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor will always be an independent company that happens to have television.
Yeah.
They're great. I love Ring of Honor. I love their product. I love the way they do television. I love the way they do business. They're awesome. But they will forever be right here. Because they don't have that marquee, the guy like TNA had in Kurt Angle.
Right.
They're never going to have the next Hulk Hogan, the next John Cena, because they still have that kind of resources.
Exactly.
They'll always be right here. WWE is going to forever be up here. Ring of Honor is going to be close, And TNA is just kind of. I don't care that pisses people off in the forums. I really don't care. It's long and short of it, guys. TNA has tapered off considerably in the last 5 years.
I'm just hopeful sometime during our lifetimes.
I hope so too.
We will see a new boom period with two companies going at it. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I don't know if we'll ever get a repeat of the Monday Night Wars, but it was great to be part of that era and to live through it.
It really was.
So check out the best of Raw. Check out the best of WCW on the WWE Network, of course, since they won the war.
That's right.
For just $9.99.
That's right.
You got the Nitros on there and various episodes.
I think this is on here. I know one of these is on here. The episodes of Raw that are on here are on the network now, too.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
But definitely check out the Raw Nitros if you're on the network. The Raw Nitros are definitely worth the $9.99.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Check them out and leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite memories of the Monday Night Wars were, your favorite matches and segments. Leave a comment. Follow Jeff at _Jeff Meacham on Twitter, at Aaron Rift, and of course, visit NoDQ.com for the very latest in the world of wrestling. Thanks for watching, guys.